path of wildness, which is a way to break out of a current life circumstance into a new life by collecting facts, thinking them over, and then making a decision, recognizing that the decision we make is going to be fraught with difficulty either way. We decide not to go, then we're stuck with the life we've chosen. If we decide to go, then we're challenged by the unknown. I'll give you a clue. The only way you can fail in choosing the path, the new path, and breaking out of your current life, the only way that can fail is if you've made commitments to the current life, which will suffer as a consequence. For example, having chosen to be in a particular circumstance, having made the commitment, for example, for a family and having children, and then if the choice is to leave that family and those children, maybe for whatever happens, and go off and have something other adventure, leaving them without the support and even the interpersonal support, that's a losing avenue. It's the wrong thing to do. Once those children once she's impregnated, that's that. That's why it's so important to make this choice for the path of wildness early, before there's too many commitments. Just get that diploma under your belt. Take it home and give it to the family, give it to mom and dad. Say, here, take this. I'm going to step upon the path of wildness. I'll be back a couple of years. And then go have your great life adventure, which is coming up. I'll talk about that in a second. Otherwise, if you're young in a circumstance like that, and you didn't get her pregnant, or you're not pregnant if you are a woman, there's no kids on the way or here, that's really the key element, right? I mean, once you've invested yourself in other human beings, in the creation of other human beings, or in their care and welfare, if you've adopted them, then your choice is pretty much settled. I mean, you can break it up. I mean, like if you have a partner, if you've created a family, you can move your entire family wholesale from one circumstance. The whole family can have a great life adventure together. That's fine, but you can't splinter off and leave them behind. So do it young when you have little to lose, right? And the point is, the thing that I was trying to say was, if you choose not to do it, if you choose not to go on the path of wildness, there are consequences to that usually manifest themselves later in life, much later in life. And there's nothing to do about them. Sorry, you missed your chance. Yet if you do it, even if you fail, even if you lose everything you've got, all your money, even if you get wounded, even if you lose a limb, strangely, even if you die, I think you will, but you won't regret it. You won't be able to have no regrets if you're dead. Even if you die part is the strange one, It's a good death. Let's leave it at that. But if you don't die, and you lose everything, maybe even a limb, that older, like I mentioned just a moment ago, if you don't go, you can't do anything about it later. You won't have that situation. You will have done something about it, and your stump will be a reminder. Next is the risk of avoiding risk. The risk of avoiding risk. The surface level and deep level risks. The surface level stuff is school, job, home, family, security. The deep risk is not doing anything about that desire that you had early on have an adventurous life. All that stuff I was just talking about. It's tricky to balance both of those. The key is really to just make sure you partner up with somebody that's willing to do both, right? Like I was, you know, like I've told this story before. I dated a lot before I met Yumiko, and what really impressed me about Yumiko was that I hear this quiet, you know, seemingly what's the word? I can't find the right word, but it doesn't come off wrong. She was just kind of an insular, quiet, gentle little human being who did this incredible thing. You know, when she told me the story of how she was raised in a small, very old-fashioned community in Japan where people didn't do adventures. People just did the Japanese thing. They followed the Japanese life. And she said, I'm going to have an adventure. After high school then, she got 2 jobs, saved up the money, and came to America. And her family objected. Father wouldn't even say goodbye when she left, when she went out the door. And she found herself in America having this great life adventure of hers. And I knew, I didn't know it, but I knew it, that was the woman for me. That was a woman with whom I could spend a life having successive lives together. That, like me, she wasn't content with just hunkering down to wait out the years, or she wasn't going to, put her faith or put her chips in another world, not of this world, as they say, right? And again, wait out life towards something better. She was willing to disappoint. She would never disappoint her family like me. When she said I do and put the ring on, just like I did, then we're bound, But I knew that she was a woman that would do these things because she did it, and it was part of her character, just as I was. So we put the rings on, and it would be a ring not binding us to a particular home for 40 years and a particular way of life and, ho-hum. I mean, I see that from my perspective. That kind of life seems very boring to me, just to be in one place forever. But instead, okay, well, let's do this for 5 years or 10 years, a decade, and then let's take a match to it, not literally, and burn it all down and go somewhere else and do it again. And then burn that down and then go do it again. Every time, the houses always fill up with new stuff and new life and new chapters. And I knew that she would be one that would do that with me, and we could carry our daughter along with us and our pets as well. And we could be a family, a gypsy family. So, that's the risk of avoiding risk, is not being able to address both. You have to pay some price, but it's pretty hard to get away with both of those unscathed. But if there's anyone, if we're going to lay our chips in either one, put the chips in, if you're so inclined, put the chips in the deep risk. Put the chips in finding a way to deal with the deep question of, it's not so much discovering your character, but building your character. Through the effort of pursuing whatever it is that interest is that pulls you along, or draws you down, because it is a down. It's a down insofar as it's not the type of thing that is contributing to outward prosperity. taking 3 years off to be a vagabond or whatever you're going to do, right? I mean, it doesn't. Vagabond is what appeals to me, even though I never really did that. I did it in bits and pieces through the years, and that had the same price. It's a distraction from the career path, right? You're not going to end up with this. You're not likely to end up with the same in the end, but you'll have something a lot more. I think is a lot more valuable, maybe. Okay, I think I've lingered long enough on this.